Hello, welcome to Hiding Behind the Lipstick 3.0 Ministry. I am your host, Ophelia Waters, and again, I thank you for joining us. We're going to talk with you today for a few minutes about Black history. February honors the contribution of African American in the United States history. This month of February began as Negro History Week, and it was created in 1926 by a man named Carter G. Woodson, who was a noted African American historian. He was a scholar, he was an educator, and he was a publisher. In 1976, it was made a month-long celebration. The month of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. And after growing violence and race riots in 1908 in Springfield, Illinois, a group of African American leaders joined together to form a new permanent civil rights organization, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We know it today as the NAACP. This was chosen because it was the centennial anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. So on February 12, 2009, it marked the 100th year anniversary of the NAACP. And Black history is certainly more than a 1 month out of the year type of thing. But however, I want you to know that our history is to be remembered by all of us, all Black people, all African American people, just as the Jews remember the Holocaust and never forget it. We must remember our history and never lose our culture as a race of people. And as I delved further into research, an interesting point jumped out at me regarding the United States and the United Kingdom regarding Black History Month, which was first proposed by Black educators and the Black United students at Kent State University in February of 1969. The first celebration of Black history took place at Kent State University in February 1970. But 6 years later, Black History Month was being celebrated all across the country in educational institutions, centers of Black culture, and community centers. But the United Kingdom caught on to the celebration in 1987. It was organized through the leadership of Ghana and analyst Akaya Abdia Sibo, who served as a coordinator of special projects for the Greater London Council. London was where the first celebration took place. Then in 1985, in Canada, a motion by politician Jean Augustine, who represents the riding of Etobicoke Lakeshore in Ontario, Canada's House of Commons, officially recognized February as Black History Month. And they then honored Black Canadians. In 2008, Senator Donald Oliver moved to have the Senate officially recognize Black History Month, which was unanimously approved. Will you allow me to take us back to a time when we were called colored people, when we had to use separate water fountains, when we had to use separate restrooms, when we had to go through the back door at most establishments, when we had to sit in different places just to eat if they allowed us to eat. Back to when they wanted the blacks, the darkies, the coloreds to sit at the back of the bus or to stand up if they so ordered. On March 2nd, 1955, there was a 15-year-old schoolgirl refused to move to the back of the bus. Her name was Claudette Colvin, and this happened 9 months prior to Rosa Parks' stance, which launched the Montgomery bus boycott. When the bus driver ordered Claudette to get up, she refused. Miss Colvin described the experience. It felt like Sojourner Truth was on one side pushing me down and Harriet Tubman was on the other side of me, pushing me down. I just couldn't get up. So Miss Colvin was arrested, thrown in jail. She was one of 4 women who challenged the segregation law in our court system. At this time in the movement, the NAACP and other Black organizations felt Rosa Parks made a better icon for the movement than a teenager. Whereas Rosa Parks was an adult with the right look, and Miss Parks was the secretary of the NAACP and was a both well-respected person, people would associate her with the middle class, and that would attract support for the cause. Well, let me tell you, and let me stick a pin here, that the struggle to end segregation was often fought by young people. More than half of these young people were women. So to the young people in Florida, fight on. Fight for what you believe and for what you know is right. So this point takes us up to Browder versus Gale in the United States District Court. Browder was a Montgomery housewife, and Gale was the mayor of the Montgomery, Alabama. It was Browder versus Gale that caused segregation on public buses to be eradicated. After the start of the Montgomery bus boycott, Black leaders began disclosure on the need for federal lawsuits to challenge city and state bus segregation laws. About 2 months after the boycott began, Claudette Colvin's case was reconsidered by Black legal leaders. Keep fighting. Attorney Fred Gray, Nixon and Clifford Durr, which was white lawyers, who with his wife Virginia was an activist in the civil rights movement, they searched for the ideal case law to challenge the constitutional legitimacy of city and state bus segregation laws. Miss Rosa Parks' case was not used for the basis for this federal lawsuit because as a criminal case, it would have to make its way through the state criminal appeals process before a federal appeal could be filed. So here enters Thurgood Marshall, who later became United States Supreme Court Justice. Mr. Gray consults with Mr. Marshall, who at the time was the legal counsel for the NAACP. Mr. Gray contacts Arilla Browder, Susan McDonald, Claudette Colvin, and Mary Louise Smith. All 4 of these women had been mistreated by the Montgomery bus system the previous year. In June of 1956, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled on Browder versus Gale. Now, this case was one of many legal turning points in the American civil rights movements. A fact about Black history, we were in the United States and those in Canada. Celebrate this month. In the month of February, we look forward to what comes in February. We look forward to Black History Month, where we can tell our stories, where we can share what has happened to our foreparents, to our great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents. And we talk about all of that, and we look forward to this month. But we have to keep in mind that although we've come from slave ships, we've come through the Underground Railroad, we've come from being beaten and enslaved to a man named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that wanted us all to get to the promised land. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech today in 2018 still rings true. Or do we really have a dream? Well, my answer for me and my house, I have a dream. I dream that there will come a day when the shootings of innocent children in our North American school system will cease. I dream of a day when we won't have to have security in God's house. I dream of a day when newborn babies won't be put away like garbage. I dream of a day when sexual abuse and sexual harassment will not happen. I dream of a day when love will sweep the nation. I dream of a day when every knee shall bow at the name of Jesus. There will be no more Black History Month, There will be no more hate based on skin color or gender. There will be no more tears, for the former things are passed away. I do have a dream, and I have a hope in Jesus Christ. I have a hope for tomorrow, that we will learn from yesterday so we can live for today. So in the year of 2008, we got our 44th president, and he just happened to be Mr. Barack Obama, a black man. We as a people shouted, we praised for the newly elected president. While many of our foreparents, our great-grandparents and our aunties and our uncles and our grandmothers and our mothers and our fathers didn't get to see this happen. But they had a dream, and they believed, and they fought, and then it came to pass. Because we do know that on the shoulders of a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mr. Malcolm X, Miss Rosa Parks, and Miss Claudette Colvin and others, that the struggle brought us to a place in black history where a black man was elected and served 2 terms as the 44th president of these United States of America. And so the dream don't stop there. No, the dream doesn't stop there. We continue to have hope for a better tomorrow. We continue to believe that we will get to the promised land. Keep hoping, keep dreaming, keep believing that we as a people will make it. Believe that we as a people will rise to even more higher status. It's important that we believe. It's important that we keep marching and that we keep trying to make it to the promised land. If we give up, we won't make it. But I challenge you as a people to keep fighting, keep believing, and by all means, keep dreaming. We have grandchildren that's coming behind us. We need to leave them a legacy that they can be proud of. Until next time, thank you for joining Hiding Behind the Lipstick. And remember, you can listen to me on YouTube, and please subscribe to the Ophelia Waters Show. Until next time, be blessed.